Okay, we are at 3:18. I will take back over the chair duties at this time. So let's see where we are. Okay, we are to Deputy Superintendent Angie Stallings. We are on 16.1. We're going to talk about waivers, board rule waivers. So Angie, Deputy Superintendent Stallings, we'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Chair Belknap. Angie Stallings, Deputy Superintendent of Policy. And as Vice Chair Belknap mentioned, we're going to be discussing two rule waivers today. The first one is a waiver of R277496, which is a waiver of the fidelity requirements for the early intervention software program. So in board rule, actually in statute, it talks about the state board withholding licenses in a year after an LEA does not meet the fidelity requirements or the minimum dosage requirements for students to be participating in these programs if after 2 years they don't meet those fidelity requirements. Well, this last year, of course, was a unique year. And not only may have been a unique year for the schools and how their students were participating in the program, but it's also difficult for our third parties to designate a dosage requirement. So for that purpose, or because of all of those issues, the staff requests that the state board waive the requirement in subsection 1, which is in part of section R277496, section 4, that prohibits a school from receiving these software licenses for a year if the school does not meet those minimum dosage requirements. Without this waiver, there would be some schools that would not be able to participate or receive licenses in the 21-22 school year. If you have any questions, Melanie Durfee is also available to answer, and I am as well.
Thank you, Angie. Thanks for the clarity. Do we have any questions on this? If not, I'll be seeking a motion.
All right, I'll give that motion.
Thank you.
I move that the board waive the requirement in subsection R277-496-4(1) that prohibits a school from receiving K-3 reading software licenses for 1 year if a school does not use the early interactive reading software licenses in accordance with the technology provider's dosage recommendations, and allows staff to provide all schools across access to early interactive reading software licenses during the 2021-22 school year.
Have a second?
Second.
I'm not sure who was first. Maybe Board Member Norton. Okay, do we have any questions? Board Member Cannon?
Thank you. I noticed here that they've spelled out which of these programs are they want to allow, and one of them is Waterford. Is Waterford there used synonymously with the Upstart program, or is this a different program?
Angie, do you have a response to that, please?
That might be a question for Melanie.
Thank you.
Upstart program is generally pre-K, so I don't believe it's the same, but Waterford may be a provider, or the same software that's used for Upstart might also be used as part of this, what I believe is a separate program, the early intervention software program. But Melanie would probably be the best to answer that.
Melanie, are you available, please?
I don't see her on, so if you don't mind, I'd be happy to answer that. Vice Chair.
That would be acceptable, Dr. Thronson.
Thank you. So Waterford is the K-3 product, where Upstart is the preschool product. So they are two separate platforms, but software.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Seeing no other hands, the motion before the board is that the board waive the requirement in subsection R277-493-41 that prohibits a school from receiving K-3 reading software licenses for 1 year if a school does not use the early interactive reading software licenses in accordance with the technology provider's dosage recommendations and allow staff to provide all schools access to early interactive reading software licenses during the 21-22 school year. Please vote. Thank you. It looks unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Angie. You may continue.
Great. The second waiver is a waiver of R277708. This is the EARS program, the Enhancement for At-Risk Student line item that is going away after this year. As you'll remember, in SB 142 and in part related to the board's funding study, the legislature has now created an add-on for students at risk, or WPU add-on. So this program will be going away. But the specific requirement, there are two things that staff are asking that you consider waiving today. First, board rule prohibits or allows LEAs to carry forward a maximum of 10% of their carry forward amounts. And this year we have approximately 15 who have more carry forward than 10% of their allocation. And so staff recommend allowing our LEAs to be able to carry forward more than 10% of those funds. And you can see that we've provided, or staff have recommended, some conditions related to that. And the reason we're attaching that to the rule waiver versus putting it into a board rule is that technically this program is done or being repealed as of June 30th, 2021. So another option would have been for staff to just simply sweep all of those funds or require the funds to be returned to the state. But staff felt it would be more appropriate to give LEAs another year opportunity to use those funds before what will likely happen at the end of the next fiscal year, June 30th of 2022. Those funds would need to be returned, if there's any left, back to the state. And so you can see the first portion of the rule is to recommend that you waive that 10% maximum and allow them to carry forward all of those funds, subject to them submitting a plan, which is what is required even for those who say only have 5% carry forward. They're currently, according to the rule, required to submit a plan of how they're going to use those funds, and it's approved by the superintendent. And then second, would require them to return to staff by October 31 of 2022, any remaining EARS carry forward. The second item there, you can see normally the application or the plan for how LEAs are going to use those carry forward funds are submitted into the grants management system along with their application for new funds. Because this program is going away, there is no application for new funds. There are no new funds being distributed to LEAs because it's now an add-on, which is distributed a little differently than a line item such as EARS. So staff again requests that this requirement and rule that requires their spend plan for carry forward to be submitted or uploaded into the grants management system be waived, only because we will not have an application for the 21-22 school year because the program has gone away. So that's the background. I also have Marilee Wendell, who's available if there are questions. And you probably also saw that there's some more information and backup about the 15 schools.
Yep. Thank you so much, Deputy Superintendent Stelling. Board Member Earl.
My question has to do with the fact that this is at-risk funding, and some of these districts, this is a considerable amount of at-risk funding that didn't get spent. Was there specific reasons, or was it COVID related? I'm just trying to figure out how. It's hard for me to, I guess, understand this, but I'm sure there's good reasons. Is there somewhere those are written down or explained?
Thank you, Board Member Earl. I'm just wondering if Marilee has the response to that.
Yes, a lot of them, they have issued a plan to us on how they've spent this money. Sorry, this is Marilee Wendell. I am the fiscal monitor for the Enhancement for At-Risk program. They have given us some reasons, but a lot of it was due to COVID when they're spending some of it. I just don't think they could get all of it expended by the end of the time period with all the close downs.
Thank you, Marilee. Board Member Earl, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just with the add-on funding. So I guess there's a plan moving forward, or however they're going to go about doing that. I don't know. I guess there's so much money in the system now. I'm trying to figure out how this all works. They've got the add-on, we've got additional funding coming from the federal government. It just seems maybe a little interesting, I guess, to say the least, to be in that situation. So they'll submit these to staff, and then staff will approve them, or they'll come before us.
Are you talking about plans? They
The
won't be-
plans, yep, the plans.
I don't believe they're
Plans.
creating a new plan.
Well, don't they have to submit a
Just
plan for how they're going to spend
spend
it?
down, how they're going to spend down, yes.
Yeah,
Angie?
Currently, the board rule allows the superintendent to approve those plans. So they do not require board approval. They're just approved by the superintendent.
okay,
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Board Member Lear?
I just have a simple question. Angie mentioned that the money was would be swept. And she said by the state. Is it swept by the state, literally like the legislature, or is it swept by the USBE?
They would be swept, or it would be a request for return of any unused funds to USBE. And then I believe those funds would then be deposited into the education fund to be redistributed for other programs. And Deborah Jacobson could answer that as well, but it would be us, meaning USBE state.
Yeah, I was, if I can follow up, if that's okay.
Yes.
Laura, I was wanting to, take the money back and use it where it could be used rather than have it stockpiled, but I didn't want it just to go back to the state. So that helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Lear. Board Member Booth, do you have a motion you want to make? Board Member Booth?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, well, I was hoping you'd make it. Okay, Board Member Lear?
her hand up.
I know you're talking, but you're on mute.
No, asked and answered. Sorry.
Okay, I'm seeking a motion, please. Board
I'll do
Member
it.
Hutchins.
I'll do it.
Board Member Hutchins has her hand up.
Oh, good. Okay.
I move that the board waives the 10% maximum enhancement for at-risk students carry forward amount described in subsection R277-708-45A for an LEA if the LEA submits a plan to staff by July 31st, 2021 on how the LEA plans to spend down all the LEA's years carry forward funds by June 30th, 2022, and returns to staff by October 31st, 2022, any remaining years carry forward funds not spent by June 30th, 2022, and for an LEA's 2020 to 21 closing years balances waives the requirement in R2770845C for an LEA to submit the LEA's detailed spend plan and revised budget through the board's grant management system.
Second, Hart.
Thank you. Second by Board Member Hart and Board Member Straight, I believe. So the Member Hutchins, would you like to comment on this?
I think I said enough.
Okay, your hand was still up. So, all right. So the motion before the board is that the board waives the 10% max. The motion is that the board waives the 10% maximum enhancement for at-risk students carry forward amount described in subsection R277-708-45A for an LEA if the LEA A submits a plan to staff by July 31st, 2020 on how the LEA plans to spend down all the LEA's years carry forward funds by June 30th, 2022, and B, returns to staff by October 31st, 2022, any remaining years carry forward funds not spent by June 30th, 2022, and Number two, for an LEA's 2021 closing years balance waives the requirement in R 277708-4 5C for an LEA to submit the LEA's detailed spend plan and revised budget through the board's grant management system. Please vote. It looks like that's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Angie.
Member
Do you have-
Belknap,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I did not see Molly Hart vote.
It's still
It's a
there.
yes.
Board Member Hart's a yes. Thank you. I think she just left hers up and you couldn't see it again. Okay, Angie, do you have another one, or are we going on to legislative sunset review?
Yes, legislative sunset review.